I was bedridden after surgery when my sister whispered, "He won't even notice," then started robbing me. She said she'd take care of me. Instead, she sold my life out from under me, while I lay helpless in the next room. She thought I couldn't hear her, but she was wrong. Okay, Reddit. Buckle up because this one's gonna be a ride. And yeah, I already know I sound bitter. It's because I am. For context, I, 31M, had spinal surgery 6 weeks ago after an old sports injury finally caught up to me. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in the Midwest. Not fancy, but it's mine, or at least it was, until I needed help recovering and made the dumbest decision of my adult life. I let my sister, Ava, 27F, move in to help take care of me. We've always had a rocky relationship. She's the kind of person who calls herself an entrepreneur, but has never actually had a job longer than 3 months. She's charming when she wants to be. Funny, smart, the kind of person who knows exactly what to say to make you let your guard down. But she's also the kind of person who can smile in your face while taking the last 20 out of your wallet and blaming you for being too trusting. Still, she's family. And I needed help. I was gonna be in bed, mostly immobile, for at least a few weeks. No bending, no stairs, no driving, no nothing. Ava said she'd help cook, clean, and keep things together until I could move around again. At first, it was actually kind of nice. I was on painkillers, half loopy most of the time, and she was attentive. Brought me soup. Set up my laptop so I could stream old sitcoms. Laughed at my drugged-up commentary even when I was barely forming sentences. She even bought a couple of those LED candles and put them around the room. Said real ones would be a fire hazard. It was thoughtful. It felt like, for a second, we were kids again and she actually cared. But there were little things. Things you wouldn't catch if you weren't half-frozen on a mattress for 16 hours a day. Like the way she'd lock her door now. Or how she'd always pause what she was doing when I shuffled into the living room with my walker. She started going out more. Always saying she was running errands, but never bringing back groceries. One night she came back flushed and smiling, holding a bubble tea, but when I asked if she'd picked up my prescription, she acted like she forgot I'd even asked. Still, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I chalked it up to stress. We weren't used to living together. She was helping, right? Mostly. I needed her. Then came the first red flag I couldn't ignore. I was lying in bed half awake, and I heard the front door open quietly. Soft footsteps. I assumed she was going out again, but then I heard a male voice. Not loud. Not angry. Just laughing. Talking low. "It's in here," she whispered. Then nothing. I must have passed out again, because by the time I woke up, the apartment was quiet. I asked her about it later, and she said I was dreaming. Said she hadn't even left that day. Maybe it was the painkillers, she offered. They mess with memory. Gaslighting 101. But I still wanted to believe her. A few days later, I noticed something small but personal was gone. My Bluetooth speaker. It usually sat on the windowsill next to my bed. I used it to play white noise when I was trying to nap. I asked her if she'd moved it, and she said maybe I put it in the kitchen. The kitchen, where I hadn't been in over a week. She started doing this thing where she'd answer my questions with questions. "Are you sure you didn't drop it at the hospital? Could someone have taken it while you were in recovery?" It felt slippery. Like I was being managed, not helped. Next was my fossil watch. A birthday gift from 2 years ago. I always kept it on the dresser. It was gone. When I asked, she barely even tried to come up with an excuse. Just shrugged and changed the subject. Then the big one, a small, old wooden jewelry box that belonged to our dad. He died when we were teens. The box wasn't worth anything to anyone but me. Inside were cufflinks, a pin from his army uniform, a little note he'd written me after my high school graduation. Gone. When I asked about that, she froze. Said she hadn't touched it. Then went into a whole story about maybe it got misplaced when she cleaned the room. But I hadn't let her clean that part of the room. I'd specifically told her not to. That's when the sick feeling started. The kind of feeling that wraps itself around your spine and makes everything feel off kilter. Something was wrong. I stopped asking questions. Started keeping track of what was missing. What she said. What she didn't say. Then I made one more decision. I called Chris. Chris and I have known each other since high school. He works in corporate security now, physical, digital, all of it. Basically, he's the person companies call when someone's stealing stuff from inside the house. I didn't give him the full picture. Just told him something felt wrong. That I might need help watching the place. He didn't ask a lot of questions. Chris showed up with a grocery bag and a backpack. The bag had chips and Gatorade. The The backpack had cameras. One disguised as a wall charger, another as a photo frame, a third one that looked like a carbon monoxide detector. We set them up quietly while Ava was out. Chris handled it like it was just another Tuesday. Said he'd monitor the feeds from his place. Told me to play dumb, to let her keep talking. So I did. And I waited. Update. Sorry I disappeared. Didn't mean to leave you all hanging. I was going to post an update earlier, but I wanted to be absolutely sure of what I was seeing. I didn't want to accuse my own sister of something this low unless I was damn sure. But now I am. It's worse than I thought. Chris sent me a Dropbox folder with labeled clips, all time-stamped. I stared at the folder icon for a long time before opening it. Something about clicking it made it all real. Like once I saw what she was doing, I couldn't unsee it. And I'd have to do something about it. I waited until Ava was out. She said she was going grocery shopping, which by now probably meant Starbucks and reselling apps, and then I opened the folder on my laptop. First video, my bedroom. The camera Chris hid in the wall charger caught everything in wide angle. Ava walks in with a laundry basket. Innocent enough at first, until she starts pulling open drawers. She takes out my winter coat, the good North Face one I got last Christmas from my aunt. She checks the pockets, folds it neatly, and places it into the basket. Then grabs a hoodie, my headphones, my old iPad. One by one, without hesitation. The part that hit me hardest wasn't what she took, it was how casual she looked. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't conflicted. She was humming. Next video, living room cam. Ava is on the phone, on speaker. She's sitting on the couch with her legs tucked under her like it's any other Tuesday. Yeah, I got more today, she's saying, laughing softly. The dumbass still thinks he lost his charger at the hospital. I paused the video there. My throat felt tight. My heart was pounding like I'd just run a mile. Next clip, she opens my media cabinet, unplugs the PS5, wipes it down, and starts taking pictures. She props it on a throw pillow like it's a photo shoot. Then she peels off a sticky note and writes something on it. Chris zoomed in. It said, $300 firm, no lowballers. I actually laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, but because it was so perfectly Ava. So on brand it felt scripted. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I'd think someone made it up. There were more clips. Too many. Her opening my backpack to check for valuables. Her texting photos to someone. Chris traced the number later to a guy who runs a local pawn shop. Her drinking wine out of my mug like she owned the place. But the worst clip, the one I can't get out of my head, was from the kitchen cam. She was packing a box. My Bluetooth speaker. My fossil watch. The little wooden box from our dad. She picked it up, shook it like it was some trinket, and tossed it in. Sentimental junk, she muttered. But I can still get $20 for it. I froze. Rewound it. Watch again. It's not the kind of thing you expect to hear your own sister say. Not about a note written by your dead father. Not while she's looting your home like a thief in the night. I didn't call Chris right away. I just sat there with the laptop open and my screen dimming every few minutes while I stared at the paused frame of Ava taping up the box. I think a part of me hoped it would still make sense if I kept watching. Like maybe I'd catch her looking guilty. Maybe she'd open the box again and cry. Maybe she'd change her mind. Maybe some part of her was still the kid who used to braid friendship bracelets and leave them on my doorknob. But no, she just kept going. No hesitation. No guilt. No shame. Chris texted me a few hours later. You good? You see everything? I just replied. Yeah, we need to talk. He came over that night. I told Ava I wasn't feeling great and needed to sleep early, so she went to her room with a glass of wine and her AirPods, like always. Chris sat on the edge of my bed while I replayed a few clips for him. He didn't say anything for a while. Just shook his head. You want to go to the cops? He asked eventually. I thought about it. I really did. But I said, not yet. Because here's the thing, Reddit, I didn't want her arrested. Not at first. I wanted her to know exactly what it felt like to be used. Watched. Lied to. I wanted her to feel it. And more than that, I wanted her to reveal herself completely. I wanted her to walk right into the trap, thinking she'd won. Chris leaned back in the chair and nodded slowly. Then he smiled, just barely. So what's the move? That's when we started planning. By the time I watched all the footage and replayed Ava's little sentimental junk comment half a dozen times, something inside me clicked. I wasn't just angry. I was done. Done making excuses for people because they shared my blood. Done swallowing discomfort so someone else could feel comfortable. Done being the one who keeps the peace while my world quietly falls apart. So when Chris asked, "What's the move?" I said, "Let her keep going." And I meant it. The next morning, I acted normal, which meant playing the tired, groggy older brother who still needed help getting to the bathroom and couldn't tell Dayquil from NyQuil. I asked Ava if she could make me toast. She brought me a protein bar instead and said we were out of bread, even though I'd seen 2 loaves on the counter the night before. Classic. I told her I was feeling better, though, that maybe by the weekend I could try sitting up longer, maybe even roll around a little in the wheelchair the hospital gave me. She looked nervous, probably doing the math in her head. If I got more mobile, I might start noticing things. So she pivoted. "You know," she said, plopping down next to me on the couch, "I've been thinking, we have too much clutter. Like, seriously, you never use half of this stuff. I could do a yard sale this weekend, just to help out while you recover." She smiled like it was the most generous idea in the world. I said, "Wow, that'd be amazing." She beamed, took out her phone right in front of me and started scrolling apps. I watched her fingers tapping through OfferUp, Poshmark, and Facebook Marketplace like she was already laying out the shelves in her mind. She was doing the one thing greedy people always do, assuming no one else was playing the game. That night, I told Chris what she said. He just nodded. "Yard sale? Huh? That gives us room to work." And he was right. This wasn't just going to be a trap. This was going to be theater. Over the next 2 days, we put together what he called the ring. Basically a list of volunteers, friends, co-workers of Chris, a couple guys from a tech forum he runs, who would show up as buyers to Ava's sale. Their only job? Ask questions. Push her buttons. Let her talk. Record everything. One guy was going to ask about the PS5 and press her on where she got it. Another would ask about the watch and say he had a friend looking for one just like that. Another would offer to pay in crypto and ask for a receipt, just to throw her off her rhythm. But the real kicker? The final buyer would be someone a little more official. Chris has a buddy, Orion, who's an off-duty cop. Not there to arrest anyone. Just observe. Ask smart questions. Drop some legal terms like title ownership and chain of custody and see how Ava reacts. This was going to be Ava's open mic night, and we were giving her the whole damn stage. The next few days were bizarre. She cleaned like she'd never cleaned before. Reorganized the apartment. Took down my posters and packed up my DVDs, moved my gaming chair into the hallway. All while I sat there in bed, watching it happen like I was already a ghost in my own home. At one point she even joked, "Hope you don't mind me doing a little redecorating while you're out of commission." I smiled. Told her it looked great. The day before the sale, she stayed up late photographing items. I heard the click of her phone camera every few seconds. She kept muttering to herself, "That's too cheap," or "Could probably get more for this if I bundle it." I just stared at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me and imagined the look on her face when it all came crashing down. The morning of the sale, I told her I wanted to sleep through most of it. That the painkillers made me extra drowsy, and I didn't want to be in anyone's way. She kissed my forehead. "Don't worry. I've got everything handled." "You sure do, Ava. You sure do." Update. Well, that happened. I'm still processing most of it, but here's how it went down. The yard sale started around 10. I stayed in bed, pretending to be asleep while half the neighborhood walked past my window, shopping for my stuff. Ava was out there grinning like it was a block party. Folding table, label bins, handwritten signs. She even made one that said, "Helping my brother while he recovers 2 hearts." Peak manipulation. From my laptop, I listened through the camera feeds Chris had wired. A little surreal, hearing strangers ask about items that used to be mine. The PS5, the watch, the Bluetooth speaker. All of it out there in the sun with price tags on it. Chris's people showed up in waves, each one sticking to the plan. No drama, no scenes, just casual buyers asking polite but pointed questions. One guy asked about the game console. She gave him a sales pitch like she was working retail. Another brought up the watch, said it looked just like one a friend lost. She got cagey, danced around the details, said it was hers by extension. Someone asked about the wooden box, the one that belonged to our dad. She called it a decorative antique. Didn't even blink. That one hurt. She talked a lot. That was the plan. Get her talking. Let her trap herself in contradictions. The final visitor was Ryan. He blended in well, jeans, sunglasses, totally normal vibe. He asked about receipts, where she got the items, whether the ownership was clear. Just enough to make her nervous. She tried to brush it off. Said it was a mix of things from around the house. Some were gifts. Some, apparently, were things I didn't need anymore. She implied I was barely conscious most days. I guess she figured that made it okay. Eventually, Ryan asked if I was around. She froze, said I was resting. He asked if I could come out, just to confirm things. I heard her voice tighten, like a cord snapping. She didn't know I was already by the door. I rolled out slowly, played confused. Looked over the sale table like I hadn't seen it before. The PS5 was in full view, front and center. A sticky note still on it. I asked why it was out there. Why her dad's box was next to a pile of DVDs. She didn't answer. Just stood there, caught somewhere between panic and denial. I pulled out my phone. Played the recording. Not the whole thing, just enough. Her voice, mocking, laughing, talking about how I was too doped up to notice. How she was clearing me out while I drifted. No one said anything for a full minute. People started packing up and leaving. One of them took photos of the table. I don't know why. Maybe to post later. Maybe just to remember the moment someone's cover fell off in public. She turned on me fast. Said it was entrapment. That I'd tricked her. That Chris had manipulated everything. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Chris stood behind me with his arms crossed, not saying a word. Ryan was still there too, quiet but watching. He didn't arrest her. Didn't even threaten it. He just gave her a look I can't describe, some mix of disappointment and disbelief, and left. When I rolled back inside, I didn't look over my shoulder. She didn't follow. For a while, I could still hear her standing out there, trying to talk to one of the neighbors who hadn't left yet. It didn't sound like it was going well. TLDR, my sister held a yard sale to sell off my stuff while I was recovering from surgery. With help, I turned it into a trap. Caught her lying to strangers, caught it all on tape, and played it for her in front of everyone. The lies were public. The consequences weren't criminal, but they were loud. And I'm okay with that. Update. A week later. Things have been quiet. Almost too quiet. The yard sale disaster sent Ava into some kind of tailspin. She didn't come back inside for hours after it ended. When she did, she didn't speak. Just went straight to her room, slammed the door, and stayed there. No apology. No explanation. No justification. The next morning, her stuff was gone. I heard the front door open at dawn, and that was it. One trash bag in the hallway with a half-empty wine bottle and a hoodie she stole from me months ago. No note. I haven't heard from her since. Chris helped me clean up the living room. Most of my stuff didn't make it back. The speaker's gone. The watch is long gone. Dad's box, somehow, she never sold. Maybe no one offered enough. It was still there, wedged under the table like trash. I put it back on my dresser. That's where it's staying. A few of Chris's buyers sent me messages afterward. Just checking in. A couple said they were shocked how easily she lied. One guy offered to testify if it ever came to that. Another sent me screenshots from a local buy-sell group where Ava had posted listings under a burner profile. She was really planning to clean me out. The emotional whiplash has been the hardest part. I keep replaying things in my head, like how quickly she went from supportive sister to full-on predator. How natural it was for her. Like she'd done this before. Some nights, I scroll through old texts from her. Birthday memes. Dumb TikToks. Jokes about our mom. I don't delete them. I just sit with them, wondering when exactly she stopped seeing me as her brother and started seeing me as inventory. I've gone through every stage of grief in the past week. Shock. Anger. Sadness. Regret. But mostly, I feel this weird emptiness. Like someone knocked down a wall and now there's too much space inside me. I haven't told my mom yet. Not sure I ever will. She and Ava have always been close in that codependent, low accountability way. If I do say something, it'll get spun back at me. I'll become vindictive, paranoid, or just making a big deal out of nothing. No thanks. Let them find out through silence. Chris installed a new security system. Front door cam, bedroom cam. This time I control it, motion alerts. He also got me a safe, bolted it into the closet floor. Everything valuable goes in there now. Paranoid? Maybe. But once you've seen what betrayal looks like in a hoodie and fuzzy socks, smiling while she posts your stuff online, it's hard to unsee it. I got a message this morning. Blocked number. Just said. I didn't know what else to do. I'm sorry. Could have been Ava. Could have been anyone. I didn't respond. Because here's the thing. Forgiveness is a door I get to choose whether or not to open. And right now, I'm good with it staying closed. TLDR. Sister tried to sell my stuff while I was recovering. I set a trap, exposed her, and now she's gone. I'm still standing. But something in me changed. Probably for good. Final update. First, just thank you. I've read every DM, every comment, every unhinged theory, every dude I gasped reply. I got people sending me screenshots of their own revenge stories, links to legal resources, and one guy who said he'd buy me a beer if he ever ran into me at a Home Depot. Reddit, man. Some of you were angry on my behalf. Some asked why I didn't burn every bridge in a 5-mile radius. Others just wanted to know how I'm doing now. Is she gone? Did I press charges? Am I okay? So here's one last update. Not about what she did, but about what came after, what I did next, and what healing actually looks like when the adrenaline's gone. It's been a month. The apartment feels different now. Not just because it's quieter, but because it breathes differently. No tension. No pretending. No someone rearranging my life like it's a thrift rack. I'm rebuilding, but not in the dramatic, movie montage way. It's slower. Softer. I stopped replacing what was taken. Not because I can't, but because I don't want to. Turns out I don't miss the stuff. I miss trust. And you can't buy that back on Amazon. Some asked if I went to the police. I didn't. I thought about it. But that wasn't the kind of justice I needed. Watching her lie, live, in front of strangers, watching it crack in real time, that was enough. That was real. She left the next morning. No note. No apology. Just vanished. And honestly, I think that's the truest version of her I've ever seen. Chris is still around. Dropping in. Making me laugh. Mocking my new ultra-secure home system like I live in a spy bunker. I told him I sleep better now. He didn't say anything. Just nodded like he already knew. Victoria and I grabbed coffee again. It wasn't a date. It also wasn't not a date. Mostly, it just felt normal. Easy. Like someone choosing to be around me because they wanted to, not because they thought I was weak or useful. That's new. I don't feel angry anymore. Not even numb. Just clear. Some things, some people, you don't come back from. And maybe they don't come back either. That's not tragedy. That's math. My sister chose who she was. I'm just finally believing her. TLDR, final. Caught my sister trying to sell my life out from under me. Faked confusion, recorded everything, exposed her. She's gone. I'm still here. Stronger now. Quieter. But more myself than I've ever been. To everyone who stuck around for this chaos, thank you. For the awards, the stories, the encouragement, and yes, even the doubters. You made a random guy in recovery feel seen. Whatever's next, I'll walk into it with both feet on the ground. And no one else holding the keys. Scott.